All right, we should be live. There's probably a little bit of a delay it going between all of the different platforms. So we will just chat for a few moments here while it
People
starts
are,
to show up into these
yeah,
other areas. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So we should be heading into that.
awesome.
Um,
We can do a little commercial and a little promotion that our subscribers, our subscriptions are just rocketing since January the 1st. Actually, the weekend before, I believe.
Yep. Yep. The subscribers is definitely growing up, which is
Yep.
good. We're over 3,400, which a year ago we were at about 700, probably
I know before
600.
before we got thrown out of our space share in the middle of March, we were at 800. So I don't know where we were exactly 12 months ago, but it was probably 6 or 700. So
Something like that.
yeah, we're 5x.
Yep.
So
Yep.
somebody likes what we're saying.
Well, we
I
do,
know you and I like it.
as always.
Well, for a genius, they say it takes one to know one. So
That's true. Well, we each know one. So,
no, I know two, me and you, and then there's
well,
Abby and Vince. So
yeah, we
I
got
know
a
two.
couple.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to talk about staff meetings, morning huddles, meeting questions, how to make meetings not boring, all that kind of stuff here tonight. Um, it's a good all-around topic and subject that a lot of people need to learn more about. So we're going to start with that here tonight. So if you're watching this live, welcome. Feel free to leave some comments for us on whichever platform you're on. If you're watching this on a delay, then welcome. Those are some of the things we're going to talk about. We're going to spend half hour or so just shooting it like we usually do. Usually
Exactly.
just come up with a topic, start to talk about it, see what happens, see how things go. So I'm just going to check a couple of the feeds really quick, make sure that they're actually working the way that they're supposed to.
Okay.
Yeah. For anybody that is kind of new to the channel, welcome. We are a family-owned, profit-first firm as well as business mentoring firm, and you can find out more about us through Dr. Winteregg's book, Fun at Work. Fun at Work is a book that you wrote, published. It's an Amazon bestseller.
Yep.
There's an audio book available for it as well.
Yeah, it's on
The
Audible and
all the
those
usual
audio
places.
platforms, plus Kindle and all that stuff.
Yep, you got the Kindle version. You can order a paperback version. You can order it from wherever you like. We will be doing live streams every week. The tentative time is Monday evenings. This week we're doing it on Thursday evening just because of how our schedules fell this week. But we're going to try and do like a regular live stream once a week with us and some guests or whatever. So welcome to all of you guys that are here. Tonight, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about meetings. Meetings are very boring, or at least that's what most people think. And so we're going to talk about how to actually make your meetings worthwhile. We've got some questions that some people have submitted to us from a few of our other Facebook, or I'm sorry, through the YouTube comment section on some of our other meetings videos. And so I've got a few questions written down here that you'll be able to answer for them. But I guess first and foremost, let's talk about how we make meetings worthwhile. I was joking that we need to have a book, Fun at Meetings. You have fun at work, and then there's the fun
Right.
at meetings aspect of it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, your overall concept of what the point of a meeting should be, because I think people have meetings and there's not really an established format or reason or purpose. And so I think that that's why it becomes long and drawn out and boring.
Well, I think lots of times meetings are being held because the boss says you're supposed to have a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a meeting just to have a meeting rather than a meeting to get a product,
Right.
a meeting to get a result. And so what is the purpose of this meeting should be known before the meeting even starts. And I guess like I can tell you what I've done to in my dental practice, it made all the difference to have productive meetings. And I'll go over tonight part of the format of what I used. But I guess here's the main point of having a meeting is communicating about what is happening and what is supposed to be happening and what you want to happen. So it's kind of like what's going on right now. Is this part of our plan? What is going on right now? And meetings are not bitch sessions. Although if something's not going well, you can't sit there and not say it because you don't want to get somebody in trouble. Or if I say this about him or her, then they're going to be mad at me or what. So, okay, we're going to work through some of those basics here tonight. But here's the bottom line is you have a meeting so everybody's coordinated. And you have a meeting so everybody knows what's going on. And I've run into some business owners that don't want the employees to know what's going on.
Right.
And they have the viewpoint, well, I'm paying them $15 an hour. I don't know what else they need to know. And so if that's your attitude, then you shouldn't have any meetings.
Yeah, it does come down to that. Like some business owners are very guarded with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want people to know their personal things. And, if you don't want people to know how much money you're going to make, I think you've kind of put your head in the sand to think that nobody's going to figure it out when you go, well, we sell these products and services and we did 10 of those this week. So we probably made $15,000. I mean,
yeah,
it has to be figured out at some point.
He makes 500 a week and she makes 750. And I know he makes 1,000. And so, yeah, the boss probably walked away with 5 of that 10. If you don't think they're doing it, then your head is in the sand or someplace else where the sun doesn't shine. So let's just remove all the mystery and just tell them what's happening.
Yeah. And
so I would show my staff the profit and loss statement if they wanted to see the profit and loss statement. It's like, here it is. I mean, let's just remove all mystery. Now, if somebody is going to begrudge me because I'm making a lot of money,
right,
they shouldn't be on the team.
Right. So and the point of a meeting is to have everybody on the same page working together. And there's no successful group or organization in history that has done it without having a team built. Mm-hmm. Let's look at sports. The best teams are the teams that work the best together. They don't have to be the best players. You can take a team and load it up with the best players in the world, and they might not win a game because they're each sitting out there thinking, I need more points. So I'm not going to pass. I'm going to do it my way. Mm-hmm. And so you have to have a team actually working together. So let's go first into the weekly staff meeting, quote unquote. Yep. You did a video on 5 things to cover in a weekly staff meeting, and we covered a lot of basics in there. But why don't you give us just a quick overview of what the weekly staff meeting is, and then we'll go into the quick overview of what a daily, people call them the daily huddle, what a daily huddle would be, and why we would do these, or add something into that.
Right. So first of all, it's very important that you keep statistics so that each staff member has something to report at the weekly meeting. Like, this is my production. Now, that's very common in sales groups. This is how many cars I sold last week, or this is how many pieces of software, or this is the revenue that I generated last week, or whatever. But as a manager, you have to have something for somebody to be accountable for. And so there are some workers out there that don't want to be accountable for any production. They'll protest you assigning them a statistic. And it's even as much as like, I'm the receptionist, how many phone calls did I route? Mm-hmm. And so everybody has some piece of production that they can be responsible for. And so at a staff meeting, they need to share what was their quota and what did they do. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, that alone will make the statistics go up.
Right. So and
Neil was supposed to have 10, and we're getting down to the end of the week, and he's only got 7. He's going to be like, well, shoot, I don't want to go to staff meeting and say I did 7. And so he figures out at least how to get 8. Mm-hmm. So that's something that's very important, that everybody has something that they're responsible for. Like, this is why I got paid this week. I got paid to do 10 and I did 11. And everybody goes, hey. And I got paid to do 10 and I only did 8. So here's what I'm going to do. So it's not like everybody goes thumb down, boo, you dog. But it's like, I only did 8. But let me tell you, I already have a plan. I've sat down with, the boss and whatever. So people have to have something to be accountable for. And then their product is intertwined and related to everybody else's product. So
Right.
the person answering the telephone, well, I routed this many calls, I took down this many messages, whatever, and I didn't have any errors. Well, that's affects everybody's production. So that's something that needs to be covered, is what was the production of the overall group. And usually the 3 numbers that we want to monitor is what were the new accounts that were created, what was the production, like what went out the door or what was delivered, and then what was the revenue. And so production in an accounting office or an attorney's office is billable hours. Production in a dental office is, how much dentistry was produced. And that number is different than how much was collected, what went into the checkbook. So usually we want to track at least new business production and how much money, the revenue that came in. And so then those numbers are reported at the meeting. And so everybody kind of knows what everybody's doing. And then you need to cover like what worked last week. So this worked, and this worked, and then what didn't work. And my rule is, if you're going to bring something that didn't work, a complaint, so to speak, you also have a predetermined, worked out solution, so that whoever has something that didn't work, they have to go to a supervisor of some type, a person in charge. Maybe it's the boss in a smaller organization. And just as an example, a problem in dental offices is emergencies coming in late in the day. Like, we're supposed to leave at 5, and then here's an emergency at 4:30, and we're already packed. So then, we had to have some sort of a solution to that. And so the solution was, well, we're not going to tell the patient who's calling up, oh, sorry, you loser, I'm sorry you're in pain. We need to get out of here on time.
Right.
There was a rotation amongst the staff. If there was an emergency, then this is this person's day to stay late. So you're still servicing the customer, but then there's an agreement among the staff of the solution. And so that's something that everybody can agree on. So yes, you talk about your production, the overall group's production. You talk about what worked. So you acknowledge, thank you for this, thank you for that. This didn't work, but then here's my recommendation on a solution. And then the other thing that we talked about was, we always were running on certain programs and projects. So this had to be done by this day. So we were going to have a booth at a health fair. And so we had to get toothbrushes and dental floss and a little game book for the kids. And it had to go in a goodie bag with our logo on it. And so those tasks were divided up amongst the staff. The health fair, is on July the 12th. And so we have to get the promotional products ordered in March. So they're here. And so we always ran it by the week on who was responsible for getting what projects done. But see, now you're talking about this staff meeting. This is there may even be people watching and say, well, that sounds like a really good meeting to have. Everybody kind of knows what everybody is doing, and you have to take responsibility for your production or lack of production. And it's not just a bitch session where you say, well, you upset me last week, you dog. That doesn't lead to production.
No.
So,
and honestly, an individual upset between 2 people should be handled away from the group, so that it's not upsetting everybody. So that you have 30 people on this person's side and 30 people on this other person's side. It's not for that. The point of a weekly meeting is to go over what was done and what is going to be done in the next 7 days.
Yes.
That's all that you're there to do.
Yep.
That is a meeting to get everybody on the same page and coordinated, and it doesn't have to be a long process. Now, somebody that did leave a question on that video, JT Plumbing says, looking for advice on leading a large meeting of 60 plus people. He feels like the format we just talked about is only for small businesses or small meetings.
Right.
So I think we have to cover that when you have a large group of people, you're going to have your business broken down into different categories or departments or divisions or however you want to do it. Not all 60 people are going to stand up and talk or say something, but the heads, the executives are going to stand up and talk about what they were responsible for this week and what happened. Correct?
Right. Perfectly stated. So let's say you have a company of 60 people, then you don't have one manager for 60 people. At least you shouldn't have. You're going to have different activities, like there's going to be the treasury department has 2 or 3 people in it. The receptionist, there's 2 of those because there's 12 phone lines, whatever. And then you've got your sales team and your production team and your marketing team, and you're going to have group or team leaders or managers. And then prior to the weekly staff meeting, those group leaders have their own individual meeting and do this process. And it doesn't have to take an hour. This can all be done. I mean, if you have a group of, 5 or 10 that you're responsible for, you follow the same process. And then in the larger meeting, not each individual in that department, there's 5 sales reps and the sales manager. So the sales manager has a meeting with the 5 sales reps and then stands up with a graph that says, well, yeah, our quota last week was 20,000 and we did 29. Yay. Or our quota last week was 20,000 and we did 19. So this is what we're doing. And so it's the same concept, only done with the group leaders or the group managers. But still, everybody in the company, all 60 people are there. It's just not like all 60 people are not going to talk.
Right. Okay,
I think
good.
That's the question, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, that answers the question, I think. It's the same format. It's just on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
But obviously, that has to be done in that format because there is 60 plus people. So instead of everybody talking, you're going to have 5, 6, 7 people talking or whatever.
Well, and I didn't even tell you, for 2 summers, I made house trailers in a trailer factory. And I don't know, there were at least 100, I don't know, maybe 150 employees. And there was the staff kitchen, and there was no kitchen. It was a place for you to bring your lunch and eat. But every Monday morning before the bell rang, we had a 20 or 30-minute meeting with the plant manager. And this is just exactly how it was run. There were 13 stations all the way back from welding in the back, where you got a pile of metal and you weld the frame together and put the wheels on it and flip it over, and now it's on the line. So 13 stations, and everybody had to stand up and report what their group did. So I saw it in action, when I was a teenager.
Well, let's take that as an example. A lot of people would think, sorry, there's a little bit of noise in the background. It's okay. A lot of people would think, okay, we make trailers. Okay, we have 100 workers. If we have a 30-minute meeting, we just lost 50 work hours.
Right.
Which means we could have made 5 more trailers, which means F staff meetings.
Yeah.
Everybody get to work. So people get into this idea that it's just working an hours and hours calculation. But what would you say to somebody in that situation of, well, you're sacrificing 50 work hours for a stupid meeting. Shouldn't they be working?
Well, is it okay if I say that attitude is stupid?
You can say whatever you want.
I guess it is our broadcast, isn't it? No, people coordinated, and Neil made the good analogy. People coordinated are a team. And you can have the attitude that, by golly, I'm paying these people 15, 25, 50 an hour or more. And by golly, they're going to work. We're going to have a meeting on their time. Yeah, they can come in on Saturday morning for no pay. And that's when we're going to meet. And okay, we know that
nobody's showing up.
Yeah, everybody's going to be sick. No, this is more valuable than that 30 minutes of production.
That's right.
And I'll tell you, just in that vein, to answer the question, what I did, because I knew definitely what my dollar per hour production was. Me and 2 hygienists working. I mean, we did very well. As a matter of fact, when I sold my practice, according to a survey of Dental Economics, in my little town of 10,000, my practice was in the top 4% of all practices in the Midwest. And I believe the reason was every morning we had a morning meeting for 10 minutes just to get everybody on the same page. Then once a week on Monday, we had the weekly staff meeting. And then every 8 weeks, I shut down for 4 hours Thursday afternoon. We had a 4-hour planning session outside the office in a boardroom. So I spent a lot of time, and I paid my staff a lot of money to be coordinated, to come up with their own creative ideas, take their own responsibility. So you're being very, very short-sighted. You're not being prudent at all as far as money management goes. Okay, you're saving money by not paying people to be at a meeting instead of producing, and you think that's smart, but let's just pay them to have a coordinated meeting that actually raises production. And so at any rate, that's kind of a long answer to the question, but it's very short-sighted thinking, well, I'm not going to pay my staff to talk. And like, well, then you need to change the format of your meeting so the meeting actually ends up being productive.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to be an organization or a group that doesn't run without the business owner being there. You have to have everybody coordinated and on the same page, or else you're never going to be able to not be there.
Yeah.
And so if you ever want to leave your company or whatever, you have to have organization put in place so people know what's going on.
Yep.
Otherwise, once you stop showing up, the business stops.
Right.
So
yeah,
that's very important. And then how would the so we've got the weekly meeting figured out. Okay. Obviously, that's a set time per week or whatever. It's got a format. Why or how can you make a morning huddle, as people like to call it these days?
Mhm.
How would the morning huddle be? How long should it be? What needs to get covered to get people into action in the office or in the business?
Take a look. The weekly staff meeting is kind of like stepping back and kind of looking at what are we going to get done this week. But then every day, because you don't want to have a staff meeting on Monday and then you have another meeting a week later and you're like, well, we did half of our goal last week. What happened? You can't do anything about last week today.
It's already done.
Last week needed to be sorted out last week. And so you have a Monday morning 10 or 15 minute meeting. You have an hour meeting Monday morning or afternoon or whatever. Then Tuesday morning, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, we have to report, this is our goal for the week. Where are we?
Yep.
How are we doing? And whether it's as a whole group or office or unit, every day you're looking at, well, this is what happened on Monday. And if Monday happens again 4 more times, then we're screwed. We're not any. So what are we doing? What's happening? How can we come up with some idea on Tuesday morning so that by the end of the day on Friday, we actually make our target? And so these meetings need to be short. I'm not talking an hour to organize. It's just kind of like, okay, this is what happened yesterday. This is what we had to do, divided by 5. And if it worked yesterday, great. How are we going to do it again? If it didn't work, how do we fix it? Or what does it look like? So yesterday didn't work out so well, but today is going to more than make up for it. We knew that yesterday. Now we need to make sure that what we got on the books today happens.
Yep.
So that we're not lazy, we're not sloppy, we're going to confirm people, we're going to drive, somebody over to their business to get the check rather than wait on FedEx to pick it up or just whatever it might be. But that's the minute control that goes in on a daily basis so that if something is not going well, we need to think outside the box. We need to work through lunch. We need to stay late. We need to whatever. So that's where the micromanagement comes in on a daily basis.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be long. It does not take a long time to run through this kind of stuff. And I think that's where people just decide that meetings are pointless because they're boring and they drone on and whatever. But a daily meeting has to happen or else nothing gets done. It's like you said, if you're meeting on Monday to find out what happened last week, then you can't change what happened in the last week.
Right.
You're just rolling the dice every week to find out what did happen. So a morning meeting is to figure out what you're going to do today and how to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Having worked in several different companies, there was times where I'd meet with the sales team and I would say, hey, I can close this person. We have a deal waiting to happen, but I haven't been able to get the answers I need from such and such. Well, my boss would call up such and such personally and say, hey, what's the answer to this question? Good, done, got it. And then I could get a close because I had the data I need. Or you can figure out what roadblocks there are and get those moved out of the way. Now, in a service organization, like you obviously had your own dental practice, let's talk about a dental practice, a chiropractic office, a body repair shop, whatever. I would imagine that what you're doing is going over your staff with each individual patient that's coming in and making sure that all 12 people are on the same page with what we're doing as soon as that person walks in the door to make sure that everything goes smoothly. Is that correct?
Exactly. And just as like we would go over the names, even down to the minute point that we know the last time they came in for their cleaning, they had to wait for 15 minutes and they were kind of upset. So today it's like right on the money. We're going to seat them on time or whatever it might be. Or they just gave us a referral. So be sure everybody in the office should thank them for that referral. Just sneak in while they're getting their teeth cleaned and thank them. Just right down to that kind of minute detail as to what's going to happen with every person that walks in the door or should be walking in the door that day.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So any service organization that's actually treating people should look at each individual person. And that's great too, because if somebody does remember that Mrs. Jones was upset the last time she's in, then when Mrs. Jones comes in and maybe she's still a little bit cranky about that last visit, somebody says, hey, we're sorry you had to wait.
Yeah.
Come right with us. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. She's like, oh, wow. Okay, this is great. They remembered, even though that was a month ago or 2 months ago or whatever it was. There's no problems with Mrs. Jones, and that's a very good customer service point.
Well, and also if you go even to the body shop, so
the worst organized places on the planet next to maybe the post office.
Totally. And it would be so easy to beat most any body shop I've ever seen if you just like got things done rapidly. But things aren't going to get done rapidly because if Neil's supposed to be putting the new fender on and I'm supposed to be painting it, then at the morning meeting, it's going to be like, listen, Neil, we need to get this fender painted. This is taking up this bay and we got to get this out of here today. So listen, you need to have the fender on by noon. And Greg, you need to start painting at 12:30 so that, we can get it out of here by the end of the day because we got cars out. I mean, so everybody knows what everybody's doing.
Yep.
And there are marks and moments and minutes that are set. So it's not okay if Neil doesn't have the fender on for him to be over on his Facebook page at 10:30. I'm going to go over and yell at him.
Or working on a different car entirely.
Yeah, working on a different car. Well, somebody said they had this emergency. I'm like, well, dude, what am I supposed to do at 12:30 if you don't have the fender on? And then if it doesn't get resolved, then you go get the manager. That's what managers are supposed to do. So it's a matter of being coordinated. It's like a basketball team, a football team, a hockey team. I mean, hallelujah, the Lightning just won the cup. And, Wayne Gretzky's one of his favorite famous quotes is, I don't pass the puck to where the player is. I pass it to where he's going to be.
Right.
And we were amazed this year at the blind passes that, Kucherov would make or Point would make. Just blind passes and the guy's wide open. That is practice. That is rehearsed. They meet on that every day. And so that's what this is. It's just about being coordinated.
Yep.
So
I don't think the players complain about the meetings or the practice where they figure those types of things out. That's how they get the result of winning.
Yeah.
And if you're in business and you're not winning, then that's because it wasn't coordinated. It wasn't figured out.
Yeah.
Funny story. Last time I got an oil change, you'll remember this. There was a problem with my car.
Yes.
And where I go to get my car taken care of, they take really good care of me. I have no problems with them, but I have a Camaro. I have different size tires on the front versus the back. And so when I went in to get my oil changed, they said, okay, yeah, you're getting an oil change, tire rotation. I said, no, don't rotate the tires because you can't actually rotate the tires on this car. So they put clearly on the notes, do not rotate the tires. So then at the end of the appointment, there was a problem. and the car wouldn't move. They couldn't figure out why. It was like the handbrake was stuck on, and they took the battery out. They tried resetting the computers. They had no idea why, but the car would not move. It was in gear and it wouldn't move. And I'm like, oh my God, my car is destroyed. Like they broke the drivetrain, whatever. So my service advisor got me home. She had somebody take me home or whatever, and then they call me an hour later and go, so we found out what the problem was. And I'm sitting here for an hour thinking, how much is this going to cost me? What happened? This isn't my fault. I'm not paying for anything, you know. And a guy whose job, I guess, is to rotate the tires in the shop just showed up and rotated the tires because that's what he does for cars, and walked away. And it must have been at a time when the guy doing the oil change wasn't there, or who knows what. But he rotated the tires so the car wouldn't move because the wrong tires were on the wrong side of the car.
Yeah,
so
the big tires on the back went onto the front, and
so
the
it
little
wouldn't move.
when the big tire is rubbing against the wheel well, and it's not going to move.
Yeah,
that was a lack
so
of coordination.
that's a lack of coordination, but there wasn't any sort of coordination or teamwork that's done. You
Right.
know, it should be gone over. And now, obviously, with a car dealership, it's a little bit different because cars are coming and going all the time, whereas Joe's Body Shop has set cars that they're working on. But, you know, it has to be brought up in a meeting. Now, you and I would have fired this guy. I mean,
Yeah.
just to be point blank. I mean,
Yeah. He's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's still there. But, you know, this guy has to be talked about in a meeting or coordination from a team. Is if there's a car up on a lift, you walk up to the guy who's in charge of the car and say, do you need me to rotate the tires?
Right.
Or do you need me to do blah with this car? Right. And, you know, that's the type of teamwork that it takes. And it takes meetings like this to establish that type of a working environment or policy or rule that somebody follows is done through this type of coordination. And, you know, that obviously wasn't done.
Well, and there's another meeting that I want to talk about as far as the morning meeting, because it does depend on the size of the organization, like the one the one question was. So I have a friend who started a company, and I was in his first office space. The name of the company is Know Before. And maybe there are callers or viewers on here who have heard of the company Know Before. And it's basically an internet security company teaching employees how to not expose viruses on the internet. It's a training company. And so my friend Stu started the company. I was in his first space. I remember it clearly. It was August of 2014. There were 10 people. And Stu was standing at a desk, and there were 10 people around him. And a friend and I, we were talking to him about a project we were working on. And every morning, Stu would have a 15-minute meeting with the employees. Then he went to 100 employees, and then went to 300 employees, and then 500 employees. So today, Know Before. So what are we now? 6-7 years later, have about 1,200 employees. They occupy 2 buildings, full buildings in downtown Clearwater. And every morning for 15 minutes, Stu's on their computer screen. So the company now has $1 billion valuation, and it's, 1,000 times bigger than it was when I saw him. And my daughter-in-law works there, and friends work there. Like, yep, every morning at 9:00, there's the CEO. And so some CEOs I've heard get into their corner office, and they show up at noon, if they show up at all, and nobody ever knows where the CEO is. That's just kind of what CEOs do. And this guy has taken his company from nothing to $1 billion valuation in 6 or 7 years. And every morning, 9:00, he's on their computer screen. And what he tells them is, this is where we're going. This is the big project we're working on. Oh, by the way, now we're going to Europe. And he's telling everybody what's happening. He acknowledges and validates, like, the employee of the month. And this is the person who had the biggest stat increase. And so as a CEO, this is your job. You need to be letting people know where they're going. And if all you want is somebody who's going to show up and work for $15 an hour and keep a chair warm, then they're not going to be there for long. Because as soon as somebody pays them $15.10, then they're going to leave. So this is all part of leadership, having regular meetings and keeping the entire crew, no matter how big that crew is, letting them know the future of the company. This is the team that they're on. This is the game that we're playing. Here's where we're winning. Here's where we're not winning. Here's where I need this unit, this group, this division to step up, et cetera, et cetera. So all of this is about letting people know what's going on, what's expected, the level of production that's expected. And then when people aren't hitting that level of production, it's not to have a meeting to yell at them. It's like, well, how can we help you? You know? So anyway, this is just such a critical part of being successful in business. I can't even.
Well, it's also, I think, what's the number one problem that businesses have by survey is staff problems, right?
Yeah, number one.
Isn't that the number one problem? Staff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've said this time and time again. It's I've met so many people who said, "Oh yeah, my problem in my business is I just need good staff or whatever." And my pat answer is usually, "Well, I wouldn't work for you either."
Mm-hmm.
And some people get a bit pissed off when I say that. But the reason I say that is because you could take somebody like me, and no matter how much money you pay me, I wouldn't work for you because you don't have the right mentality, you don't have the right organization, and you're surrounding yourself with bad people. And so if you want good people to stay, they have to have something to shoot for. They have to have targets, they have to have goals, they have to have games, they have to have a reason to stick around and a reason to work for you. Because if you complain about one of your staff members leaving to go to work for the guy across the street because that guy's going to pay him $1 more, no, it's not because that guy's paying them $1 more. They should take less to stay with you if they like you and if they want to be there and if they feel like they're part of a group. And a team meeting is the most basic fundamental thing that you can do to make somebody feel like they belong somewhere, to make them feel like they have a reason to be there. And that's, I think, what people don't understand.
Yep. And people will take less to be part of a productive group with goals and purpose and acknowledgement and validation. I mean, when the Lightning re-signed Steven Stamkos, Kucherov, I mean, Hedman, their best players, all these guys could have gotten paid more to go somewhere else.
Yep.
But they knew what the plan was. Management shared with them, this is the plan, this is the path that we're on. And, we can bemoan the fact that they should have won the Stanley Cup sooner, but by golly, they got it done, and they got people to take literally tens of millions of dollars less to be a part of the Lightning rather than just shatter the group and have them run off and chase the money.
Right.
Because of the leadership in the organization. So that's what this is about. It's about leadership. It's about communication. It's not about just being the boss, who can go to Tahiti whenever he wants to and check out and, not pick up his phone and all of that is kind of like, oh, that's not the kind of leader that I am.
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's what the staff meetings are for. So anyway, I think we can leave it there. What do you think?
Yeah. Or were there any other questions on,
there were, but we kind of covered them all at the same time. Yeah, we kind of covered them.
If watching and you've had a thought or a comment, just throw it up there. We can sign off here in a few minutes. If there's anything else, if you're watching and you liked it, give us a thumbs up or whatever.
If you learned something new, share some of our content with your friends. We're going to be doing a Fun at Work live stream pretty much every week. Like I said earlier, we're going to try and do Monday nights as the set time. This week, our schedule is a little bit wacky, so we did it here on Thursday.
And we're going to go for 7 o'clock, 7, right?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're usually available and I'm usually available, so that makes it easier. Yep. But yeah, so tell your friends, subscribe. Leave a thumbs up, leave comments down below about other topics and things that you would like us to talk about. Check out the book Fun at Work by Dr. Winteregg, and we will see you next time on the channel. We have a new video coming out tomorrow morning, so look at that on the YouTube channel. And then the next live stream will be Monday of next week. So have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.